Donald Trump received a brutal reality check yesterday in Reading, Pennsylvania. He held an event in an arena that sat around 7,200 people, and the entire back section was empty. It was completely humiliating. He tried to gaslight the crowd and lie to them and say that there was not an empty seat. It got very pathetic very quickly. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz are out there putting in the work, and you see Democratic candidates for Congress, for Senate putting in the work as well, with some incredible debate performances. I want to break it all down. My name is Brett Meiselas here with the MeidasTouch Network. Remember to hit subscribe. We are on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, but we can't get there without you. So hit subscribe right now. If you already hit subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of these videos. Okay, let's get right into it. This was a post originally by Dana Milbank. He is a Washington Post contributor, and he posted this image and said, lots of empty seats at Trump rally in Reading, Pennsylvania. Arena has 7,200 seats. And when you look in the back, you see a whole bunch of empty seats. So when I initially saw this photo, I thought, okay, but I think this the start of the rally? Has the rally begun yet? Turned out the rally had started, but this was the speakers before the rally. So I said, okay, I got to be fair, right? I got to be honest. Let's see what happens when Donald Trump actually comes on the stage. And so then Donald Trump came on the stage, and there were still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of empty seats in the back of the arena. Take a look.
Inflation, she wouldn't do that over again either. Maybe the worst of all, and something that a lot of people don't hear about because look at all the fake news. That's not a fake news.
Donald Trump, seeing all the empty seats in the back, then lies to his audience and says, we have never had an empty seat. Watch this.
We do a lot of these beautiful rallies, and it's so great. We never have an empty seat. Never have. Look at it. 100,000 people in Butler, more. Never have an empty. But they said, you know, as you go on, you get angrier.
Well, here's another angle, just so we have a little bit more proof of those empty seats in the back of the arena. Check this out.
Regulation from the companies that hired so many people. We had the best employment numbers in the history of our country. Everybody was working, whether they went to the best schools and colleges, got doctorates, all of the different.
And reporters have since confirmed that those seats in the back were not sectioned off for any reason by the campaign. They were simply empty and unable to be filled by the campaign. They could not get enough people in the arena. Not only were there empty seats in the back of the arena, but also right behind Donald Trump. People got up and left, leaving empty seats. We could see this photo right here, and you could note the empty seat right behind Donald Trump. Why don't you also look at the people's faces in this photo? I'm just going to say they don't seem too enthused by what they are hearing. We also captured this video of people walking out in the middle of Donald Trump's rally in Reading, Pennsylvania. Watch this.
How about the natural gas export ban that is crushing Pennsylvania right now? Most of you don't even know about that and all, but she will. But if she ever won this thing, you wouldn't be fracking for 24 hours. But how about that? And it's crushing Pennsylvania, hurting you. It's going on.
Sad. Sad, sad, sad. Anyway, Right Side Broadcasting, who is the Trump propaganda network that airs all of these Trump rallies, while Trump was speaking, they were promoting a liquidation sale of Trump merch. Everything must go, starting at 47 cents. Get flags, hats, shirts, and tumblers, all the Trump stuff. Everything must go. Make of that what you will. Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama is hitting the campaign trail today for Vice President Kamala Harris. He's going to be in Pittsburgh alongside Governor Josh Shapiro. This should be a lot of great vibes and energy and excitement. We all remember former President Barack Obama, how great he did at the DNC with that speech that got way under Trump's skin. You know what? Let's play that moment where it's very appropriate for this video, and I'm showing you these clips of people leaving Donald Trump's already pretty empty events. Let's play that clip of President Obama at the DNC speaking about Donald Trump's very tiny crowd sizes. Play this.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on.
There are a million reasons why you love your cat. The companionship, their affection, even their independence, and your security in the knowledge that you are one of the very few humans that they can actually tolerate and may even love. The worst part? Dealing with their litter boxes. Stop scooping poop and upgrade your litter box situation with Litter Robot by Whisker. Litter Robot by Whisker is the solution to all your litter box problems. Litter Robot's self-cleaning technology automatically cleans after every use, so your cats will always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business. And your friends won't think that your house smells like a litter box. Trust me, that's huge. And get this, Litter Robot will send a notification to your phone when it needs to be emptied. It even gives you data and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. Join over 1 million happy pets and pet parents who've upgraded to Litter Robot. What are you waiting for? And Litter Robot is perfect for the gift-giving season and the holidays. Litter Robot has honestly made cleanup time seamless and has saved me so much time. I'm obsessed with it and my cat Chubbs is too. Right now, Whisker is offering $75 off Litter Robot bundles. And as a special offer to listeners, you can get an additional $50 off when you go to stopscooping.com/Meidas. That's an additional $50 off when you go to stopscooping.com/Meidas. stopscooping.com/Meidas.
We've had some very good polling this week, but we did get a not so great poll yesterday. And I got to give you the good news and the bad news. We received a Quinnipiac poll that showed Kamala Harris up 3 in Pennsylvania, but down 3 in Michigan and down 2 in Wisconsin. I wouldn't get too upset about these individual polls. The other polls have all been very good. And, you know, you're going to have some statistical variation when it comes to these things. And anytime you see a poll that upsets you a little bit, instead of spiraling out and getting upset, what you got to do is remember what Michelle Obama said at the DNC, and you're going to have days like that, right? You're going to have to work 10 times harder. That's what this is all about. It's all about putting in the work. And Democrats right now, Vice President Harris, Governor Tim Walz, and all the Democrats across the country are putting in the work, and we see it. But let me show you some other polls as well, which are very promising. This battleground state poll reinforces that Jewish voters support Harris over Trump and Dems over the Republican Party by a massive margin. In a direct matchup, 71% of battleground state Jewish voters back Harris, and only 26% back Trump. I guess Trump's strategy of saying that Jewish people who don't vote for him has something wrong with their brains, I guess that's not the best strategy. I don't know what you think. Let's look at this poll, which I find incredibly fascinating. This is a poll of 2024 Nikki Haley voters. This has 45% of those Nikki Haley voters going to Trump and a whopping 36% of those voters going to Vice President Harris, with 23% unsure. This is from Blueprint Polling. They did this poll on October 6th. It was released yesterday. And one of the things I would note about this is that if Harris is actually able to capture 36% of Nikki Haley's voters, that is absolutely horrific for Donald Trump. That is like a worst case, horrible scenario. I don't know how he could win like any of these battleground states if that's what's happening in state to state. By the way, that's what we saw during these primaries. We saw similar data. So this is incredibly promising. Let's look at this Pennsylvania poll in the 10th Congressional District out of Susquehanna, PR. This is actually headquartered in the district, the firm, and they have Kamala Harris up 46% to 41% over Donald Trump. And they have the Democratic candidate for Congress up 48% to 39%. Of note, this is a traditionally Republican district. So that is showing a shift towards the Democrats here, and a massive one, if I may add. And let's just also break down Vice President Harris's momentum shift and how unprecedented this was. Kamala has went from a -20 to a +2 net approval rating, raised $1 billion in 3 months, and has close to 1 million volunteers on the ground. Let's just let that sink in for a second and understand the work is being put in. And while she puts the work in, Donald Trump is running away from various events. He declined to be on 60 Minutes, ran away from that. He is still refusing to do the CNN debate, and CNN set a deadline saying Vice President Harris said that she would do this Trump campaign. Your move. Well, here's reporting. The Trump campaign senior advisor, Chris LaCivita, said about CNN's letter about the debate, if he read it and would they change their mind, he said, "We haven't and we won't." Donald Trump followed up by also confirming that he would not be participating in the CNN debate with an all caps deranged rant on a social media app, writing, "I won the last 2 debates, one with Crooked Joe, the other with Lion Kamala," whatever helps you sleep at night, Donald. "I accepted the Fox News invitation to debate Kamala on September 4th, but she turned it down. That's not a real debate. JD Vance easily won his debate with Tampon Tim Walz," this guy's like 2 years old, "who called himself a knucklehead. I am also leading in the polls." No, you're not. With the lead getting bigger by the day and leading in all swing states. No, you're not. The first thing a prize fighter does when he loses a fight is say that he demands a rematch. You demanded a rematch after the first debate against President Biden. It is very late in the process. Voting has already begun. There will be no rematch. There's always debates at the end of October, every election. It's unprecedented for Donald Trump not to want to participate. Blah, 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 blah. He ends it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald Trump continues to rant on a social media app as well about the things Americans care about, like what he thinks about Howard Stern. Howard Stern had Vice President Kamala Harris on the other day as part of the vice president's media blitz that she is doing. And so Donald Trump got very offended that Howard Stern supports Kamala Harris. And he wrote in all caps, beta male. Howard Stern made a fool of himself on his low-rated radio show when he interviewed Lion Kamala Harris and hit her with so many softball questions that even she was embarrassed. He looked like a real fool working so hard to make a totally incompetent and ill-equipped person look as good as possible, which wasn't very good. I dropped Howard a long time ago, like most others, and have since been credited with very good judgment. MAGA 2024. This guy is such an incredible loser. Sorry. I had to say it. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris is actually doing her job as vice president and is monitoring the storms that are happening, and our hearts go out to anybody who was within Hurricane Helene and anybody who's going to be affected by Hurricane Milton. Vice President Harris called into the Weather Channel yesterday to warn companies not to price gouge consumers in the time of this crisis. Watch this.
There are federal resources you are entitled to receive without condition. And there are resources that are available to you to deal with what you need right now to, for example, get money to be able to fill your prescriptions and deal with a hotel expense and help you recover over the longer term. The other point I would make is this, and I've done this work in my career. Sadly, there are some folks who during the moment of a crisis will be very predatory and start jacking up prices like gasoline or hotels or airlines to take advantage of the desperation people are experiencing. So to anybody who's thinking about jacking up those prices, those companies that are thinking about doing it, know that we are monitoring and we're watching. And if there is that kind of price gouging, that there will be a consequence for that, because it's just wrong to take advantage of people who are desperate for help. And so know that we're watching that as well.
And I'm not sure if you saw President Biden yesterday, but he was absolutely fed up with the Republicans' lies and conspiracy theories. He spoke about Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying the federal government is controlling the weather. Well, I would say President Biden had a few words to say about that. Check this out.
Quite frankly, these lies are un-American, and there is simply no place for them. Not now, not ever. Former President Trump has led this onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. That's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more. That is simply not true either. They're saying that money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop.
It really is so stupid. It's all so stupid. But that is the party of Donald Trump. This is all because of Donald Trump spreading his toxicity, spreading his poison to this entire party and to a lot of the country. A reporter asked President Biden also, why do you think Trump is spreading this information? Here was his answer.
Why do you think Trump is spreading this information?
I don't know. I simply don't know. You can speculate, but I just find it, I've used the phrase more than I've used it ever in my whole career, un-American. It's un-American. It's not who the hell we are. What are they talking about?
Sir, have you considered calling him and asking him to stop doing that? To stop spreading this?
Oh, come on.
And it's just so disgusting how people like Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Fox News continue to spread this disinformation, whether it's because they make money off it or they think it's going to win them votes. One of the sad things when it comes to Fox is they actually do have some very good reporters that they just hide. Like here's a tweet from Matthew Gertz, who works for Media Matters. And he wrote, since Fox's Chad Pergram got the scoop debunking a FEMA lie from Trump and his network, Miranda Devine pushed the lie on Fox News. Maria Bartiromo asked why the memo's authors were, quote, lying on Fox News, and they have not put Chad Pergram on the air. Here's what Pergram wrote. Fox has obtained a fact sheet assembled by the majority side of the House Appropriations Committee about disaster aid. It says that FEMA, quote, has enough funding in the short term to address immediate needs for both Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. It also declares there is no funding connection between the Migrant Shelter Program and the Disaster Relief Fund. It adds there is no intermingling of funding between these two programs. It adds the only connection that is that both programs are administered by FEMA. If only Fox would allow this sort of truth on their air instead of them continuing to lie for money and ratings. It's absolutely disgusting. Governor Tim Walz was in Arizona in Tucson for the first day of early voting. Let's bring up this video. You could see the vibes were really good with people dancing and celebrating as Governor Tim Walz was there. I also want to show you this video of the early voting lines in Arizona. You see a lot of people motivated to go to the polls. Looks like we are already seeing very high voter turnout at this point, very early on. And if your state has early voting, go to the polls, get your vote over with now. It helps people actually to get out more votes. It helps the parties to figure out who they need to target. Anyway, let's check out Governor Walz in Arizona. Let's see what he had to say. He was talking about, like, don't you remember when Republicans were the party of freedom? Take a look at this.
You remember when Republicans were a party of freedom, real freedom. You can't tell me that John McCain would be okay with a former president calling Vladimir Putin like a buddy every week. That or telling Vladimir Putin, do whatever the hell you want in Ukraine, a democratic ally. That's not the party of McCain nor Reagan, I will guarantee you that. And I'll tell you what it's not either. This group with Donald Trump, when they mean freedom, they mean that they should be free to invade your exam room, to invade your school library, to invade your bedroom, and have government be just small enough to be in every damn part of your life that they shouldn't be. Look.
I also want to highlight Vice President Harris's policy proposal this week that she wants to implement if she were to become president. She has introduced this home care policy for seniors that would be covered by Medicare. I know this will change so many lives for so many people in this country. It would strengthen Medicare and provide home care for seniors and those with disabilities. Seniors would be able to stay in their home instead of going to a nursing home. Care will be provided by qualified home care workers and certified family caregivers, and it will lift up workers with access to better wages. As she describes it, this is for that sandwich generation, as she calls it, of people who have to both take care of their kids and take care of their parents. And I'm sure this would bring a whole ton of relief. This is a policy really designed at helping people. You know, while I'm giving you a breakdown of the day's news, I want to also speak about some of the kind of congressional races, Senate races, things like that. So Congressman Adam Schiff is running for the U.S. Senate in California, and he had this excellent moment the other night against his opponent, Steve Garvey, where he left him literally speechless. Watch this.
Mr. Garvey likes that particular attack because that's what Trump likes to say. It's his way of telling MAGA viewers out there, hey, I'm one of you. That's not what Californians are looking for, Mr. Garvey. Mr. Garvey, I stood up to a corrupt president, and yes, I investigated him. I impeached him. I led the trial in the Senate. And when he incited a violent attack on the Capitol, and I was there that day, Mr. Garvey, I was there on January 6th as those insurrectionists were breaking down the doors and windows. The fact that you think that's perfectly okay, that you still want to support the guy who incited that violent attack, that tells me that you would never take your oath of office seriously as I do.
I'll give you 30 seconds, Mr. Garvey, and then we're going to move on. 30 seconds, sir.
I've left him speechless.
Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan is running for the U.S. Senate, and she nailed down her opponent on the issue of reproductive freedom. This was a fantastic moment. Watch this.
So I was here in Michigan, and I voted yes on Proposition 3. You were in Florida. You voted in Florida. You weren't here. For some people, this issue is a talking point. He's put his finger in the wind and he says, now I can't win if I don't, look good on this issue. And so he's changed 30 years of being unilaterally pro-life, of never breaking once with his party on this issue. Right? So it's not a talking point to women. It is our lives. It's whether we bleed to death in a parking lot. It's who and when gets to decide how we have a family. Do not trust him.
Congressman Ruben Gallego in Arizona is facing off against Carrie Lake for the U.S. Senate and has a very sizable lead in nearly every single poll. And Ruben Gallego made the point that Donald Trump doesn't even want to campaign with Carrie Lake anymore. Watch this.
This is why I have more support from elected officials and leaders in this country and in this state than she does. Border mayors that used to campaign with her are now campaigning with me because they don't think that she's serious about this. As a matter of fact, we have 45 Republicans, again, that aren't campaigning with her. And what it seems like, Donald Trump doesn't want to campaign with her anymore either. He's not allowing her pictures on any of his billboards. So this is what we're seeing right now. A candidate that could only talk but doesn't actually produce results.
Well, okay, I got to show you one more clip from this Gallego debate against Carrie Lake because he was just annihilating her the whole time. At this moment, he said, you've been to Mar-a-Lago more than you've been to the border. Just had her completely shook. Check this out.
She would literally leave these towns abandoned.
No, I would.
Have you not visited? Why have you not visited them and talked to them? You've been to Mar-a-Lago more than you have to the border. If you had been to the border and actually talked to these towns, talked to these nonprofits, talked to these mayors, they would tell you, we need this or else we're going to have chaos. But you have you're more interested in the talking point. She wants the talking point and says she wants a solution. And Arizona's going to get hurt. Arizona's going to get hurt.
You have hurt Arizona. I've been to the border more times. We've given you a chance on this. I've been to the border more times than you've probably been to Arizona.
Mr. Gallego, let's switch.
So that's what's going on, folks. Remember to keep putting in the work, stay optimistic, keep fighting, as Vice President Harris says. When we fight, we win. I am feeling incredibly optimistic seeing all this. I love seeing all the crowds at the Vice President Kamala Harris events, at Governor Walz's events. I love seeing the work that is putting in, and I love just seeing the work that is being put in for the American people when it comes to these storms or when it comes to helping people with difficult decisions in their lives, whatever it is. I love that the candidates are out there and that they're actually doing work for the people and that Donald Trump continues to be humiliated as people leave his events. Hey, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Remember to hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3.5 million subscribers and we can't get there without you. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of these reports. I always appreciate your comments and I try to respond when I can. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.